All right, let's completely reframe one of the most translated books in human history. Most of us know Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's classic, The Little Prince, as this charming, whimsical tale about a boy hopping from asteroid to asteroid. But today, as we piece together the historical data and the underlying psychology in this explainer, we're going to find something absolutely astonishing. This isn't just a bedtime story, it's actually one of the most profound, almost clinical explorations of human loneliness, love, and meaning ever written. Now, consider this quote: "You become responsible forever for what you have tamed." Devastating, right? That single line instantly shatters the illusion that we're dealing with a simple fairy tale. The language he's using isn't about magical creatures, it's about the heavy, enduring weight of human connection. When you tame someone, when you actually build a real bond, you don't just get to walk away when it becomes inconvenient. It sets the stage for a psychological deep dive that practically forces us to reevaluate how we treat the people in our own lives.
Section 1. More than a children's story. Exposing the hidden depths.
So, on paper, the plot of this 1943 classic is remarkably straightforward. A pilot crashes his plane in the barren Sahara Desert, and right there, facing his own mortality, he meets a mysterious little prince who has traveled across the cosmos. But it's not really about space travel at all. As the pilot listens to the prince and slowly rediscovers these vital truths that adults have completely forgotten, we realize this narrative is actually a mirror. It is reflecting our own adult dysfunction directly back at us.
Moving on to Section 2, the Fox's core message. The philosophy of the invisible. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. This brilliantly illustrates the wisdom of the fox, who is literally the only character in the entire book to truly grasp what matters in a universe totally obsessed with the superficial. We live in a world that measures success by what we can see and count, right? Bank accounts, job titles, square footage. But the fox cuts right through all that noise to remind us that the true essence of a thing simply cannot be measured by human eyes. To understand why that observation is so vital, we have to track the prince's journey. He leaves his beloved rose behind on his home planet and travels across 6 different worlds. And on each one, he encounters a solitary, frankly bizarre adult. What do these grown-ups care about? Well, they are utterly consumed by power, vanity, money, and mindless routine. This journey across the planet sets up a stark, undeniable contrast between the little prince's earnest search for meaning and the adult's absolute, willful blindness to it. Section 3. Attachment Theory and Roses. Love, Inadequacy, and Meaning.
Okay, let's look at this classic story through a very modern psychological lens. The exact dynamic between the little prince and his beautiful, haughty rose perfectly models what we now call anxious attachment. This is a dynamic where there's a tremendous amount of deep love, but it's paired with constant feelings of inadequacy that constantly drive a wedge between partners. The prince loves his rose, for sure, but her endless demands and vanity completely overwhelm him.
He basically runs away because she makes him feel like he just isn't enough. It's only later when he's looking at a vast garden of identical roses on Earth that a profound truth hits him. His rose is irreplaceable simply because she is his. He poured his time and care into her. And this directly mirrors what therapists see every single day. People abandoning marriages and friendships, not because the love disappeared, but because they lost sight of the meaning behind the struggle.
Which brings us to Section 4. Planets of Emotional Avoidance. Running from Vulnerability. It is honestly wild how easily we can translate these seemingly fictional space aliens into the exact psychological archetypes we deal with right now. Take the king, who needs to rule over everyone. He is the classic controller, using authority to keep people at a safe distance. The businessman obsessively counting stars he doesn't even use, that's the modern workaholic. And the lamplighter, mindlessly flipping a switch because those are the orders, is the avoider. He's burying himself in endless busy work so he never actually has to pause, think, or feel.
Because underneath it all, every single adult on every single planet is running from the exact same thing: the sheer vulnerability of genuine human connection. The king needing power, the businessman wanting importance, they use these compulsions as impenetrable shields against actual intimacy. Let's be real, it is so much easier to obsessively count stars or bark empty orders than it is to sit down, look someone in the eye, and risk being truly known.
Section 5. The Autobiography of Loneliness. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry's Reality.
We have to talk about the real-world context here, because the intense loneliness felt by the pilot, the prince, and the rose isn't just a clever plot device drafted in some cozy studio. Actually, it's historical fact. In 1942, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry is exiled in New York as World War II ravages Europe. He is forcibly separated from his home, his beloved country of France, and his loved ones. It is right there, in the bitter depths of that exile, that he writes The Little Prince. And tragically, shortly after, he disappears on a reconnaissance flight and loses his life.
So the crucial takeaway here is that the loneliness in this book is 100% real. It was born directly from the author's visceral daily reality of exile and separation. That deep existential isolation bleeds onto every single page, grounding the fantasy in a heartbreaking reality. The author was the pilot crashing in a desert. He was a man desperately searching for the meaning of it all while being totally cut off from everything he held dear. Finally, Section 6, Seeing with Your Heart, Turning the Mirror on You. We've analyzed the psychology and the history, but now it's time to bring these concepts directly into your lap. The hard truth is that Saint-Exupéry wasn't just critiquing a boy in space. He was critiquing us. The adults on those planets, they aren't fictional. They are sitting in the cubicle next to you in your modern office. They're sitting across from you in your family dynamics. And if we are being entirely honest with ourselves, on some days, they are you. We all fall into the trap of the controller, the people pleaser, or the workaholic.
So this leaves us with 3 huge questions to unpack for yourself. First off, who is your Rose? Think about the person, or maybe even the passion, that you left behind because it felt too difficult, or made you feel inadequate. Do you realize now that they were entirely irreplaceable?
Second question, what have you tamed? Consider the deep connections you've made in your life. Are you still taking daily responsibility for them? Or have you slowly walked away because you got distracted by counting stars and just stopped seeing the meaning?
And finally, the most haunting question this whole explainer leaves us with. When did you stop seeing with your heart? When did you start relying only on logic, routine, and status to measure your life's worth? Take a moment to really evaluate what the little prince would think of how you are living your life today. Would he see someone who understands what is essential, or would he just see another bizarre adult on a lonely planet? Think about that, and remember, what is essential is always invisible to the eye.